The views and opinions expressed by the participants on this show are not necessarily those of Stewart Information Services Corporation, Stewart Title, or Stewart Insurance. Before you make any investment, you should seek the advice of your investment advisor or attorney.
Whether you're a real estate broker, realtor, homeowner, buyer, or seller, everything matters when it comes to real estate. This is Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Stewart Title's Bill Napick and guests open the door to what really matters in owning, buying, and selling real estate. And now, Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title, brought to you by Stewart Insurance. Here to inform, entertain, and inspire, Bill Napick.
Welcome to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Welcome to the first show of 2024 and number 505 of the series. Happy New Year to one and all. My name is John Bramblett, and I'm your host today from Stewart Insurance. I'm pitch hitting for Bill Napick along with our producer, Bill Melbourne. Welcome to our first show of 2024. I'm looking forward to spending the next hour with you all talking everything real estate. We're so fortunate today. Our first guest is Susan Hudson. Susan is a realtor with CB&A here in Houston, Texas. Susan, welcome to Real Estate Matters.
Thank you.
We're so glad to have you.
I'm happy to be here.
So let's talk a little bit about CB&A and your relationship to the real estate world. So CB&A's got 5 locations in Houston and 1 in Austin. Kind of where do you hang your hat and where do you spend most of your time with your clients?
I basically focus on the Katy area, Fulshire area, and like Richmond area.
So what's happening in those markets? The Katy, I know that those are growing areas for the greater Houston area. What's happening in Katy and Fulshire? Well,
it is definitely growing. There's still low inventory out there. It's really booming with the school districts out there. People gravitate towards that area because of the schools. So
when we talk about let's say you've got a client that you're helping, they're looking to buy a home, and they want to be in the Katy Fulshire area, and you're talking about issues with inventory. How do you counsel them to have patience, if you will? What's the counsel that you give them as they begin to look for a place to live?
Well, basically to lean on me for advice, because I have been very successful in helping people find a home even in the tough markets. I know the area very well, so I know what houses are going to go very quickly and ones that are going to sit on the market for a little while. So it depends on what they're looking for. If they're looking for a fixer-upper, they can probably find something without multiple offers. If it's something that they're looking for that's move-in ready, those are going to go a lot faster. So
if we continue talking about folks that are looking to buy, is a lot of the key setting expectations?
Definitely. That's a huge part of our job, is to set the expectations of our clients. And so, yes, for sure. So
what would one of those conversations sound like? So if you're working with me and I'm wanting to buy a home and I'm not quite sure about the Katy Fulshire market, what does that conversation sound like?
Well, I'd like to sit down and have a consultation and just basically go over exactly what you're looking for. And based on what you tell me that you're looking for, I will tell you what to expect as far as, hey, we need to focus on this area of Katy, because there's different packets of Katy and different packets of Fulshire. So we need to focus on this area and, based on what the, client will tell me.
So if I was selling my home in Katy or Fulshire, and let's flip the switch on that side, and what would be that conversation look like if I came in and said, look, Susan, I need some help selling my home in Katy or Fulshire? What does that conversation sound like?
Well, just basically we need to have your house in, premium condition. I want to take a thorough look through the home and just check it out and make sure that, it's ready to hit the market. If it's not, then I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do to get it sold quickly. So
we're visiting with Susan Hudson of CB&A on Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. You talked about getting that home ready for the sale. Are there minimum things that you have to do? Basic things that you have to do to make sure that the home is ready? Well,
definitely, the painting is a very easy thing for you to do to get your house ready to put on the market. A fresh coat of paint is huge when you're selling your home. If it needs new carpet, that's another thing that's not really that expensive to do. I suggest those 2 things for sure.
What about, I've heard about trying to I don't know what's the right word, depersonalize a home? Do you try to get rid of a lot of the stuff that would be, family photos and things like that, so it's just more of a generic kind of a feel?
Correct. Yes. And that's part of my service as a realtor is I hire a stager to go through the house and walk through the house with my clients, and she will take notes throughout the whole house, and then she'll send it to my clients, and I pay for that through my services. So I like to keep my expertise where it is in selling homes, and I hire people that know what they're doing to do their job, and it really is a huge asset to selling homes. So,
well, let's talk a little bit about that. One of the things that that you and I talked about off air was this idea of measuring success through client satisfaction, and it sounds like that could be an element of it, providing the proper services necessary so people can either have the most remarkable experience buying a home or selling a home. So, could you talk a little bit about why, as a buyer or seller, I would want to come and work with Susan?
Well, to me, it's a lot about the relationship, and I strive so hard. I'm a people pleaser, and I strive very hard to make sure that my clients are going to refer their friends and their family to me, and their just use me again. I have a client that has used me 6 times in 14 years that I've been in business. So I really strive hard to have that relationship. You don't just stop talking to me after I sell your house or after I help you buy a house. It's a relationship to me. I like to do a lot of client activities and things, and just to get to know people on a personal basis, because selling a home and buying a home is a personal thing, and that's why I am more in the residential real estate than I am commercial. I feel like residential is more personalized, and that's what I love about my job. So
if I was visiting with the client of yours that's done business with you 6 times in the last 14 years over a cup of coffee, and I would say, what makes Susan special, what would they tell me?
Well, one thing, I answer my phone all the time. I'm available a lot. I mean, I probably answer it more than I should, but that's what I love. I love being there for my clients and having them happy and not feeling nervous about the transaction at all. That's pretty much it. Just I'm there for them. They know that I'm there for them.
So you talked about activities that you have for your clients as a way to keep folks engaged and maintain that relationship. What are some of the things that you do from an activity perspective?
Well, like during the holidays, a lot of people come pick up their pies for during the holidays. I go to their house personally. It's a lot, but I feel like it's a more personal touch because I get to have a conversation with them instead of sharing with multiple people. I get to have that one-on-one conversation with them. But I also do a cooking class with my clients. And, after they buy or sell with me, we go to this special place where we all kind of help cook the meal. But it's a great meal, and it's a great way of just having fun with my clients after buying or selling a home. And it's just a lot of fun, and it's a good way to get to even talk to them further after the transaction. So,
circling back to your geography that you focus on, why have you selected Katy and Fulshear? Why is it important for you to have that kind of a narrow focus?
Because I know it very well. I've been out in Katy area since 1995, so I've seen all the neighborhoods go up pretty much. When we moved out there, we could hear coyotes, and we were out in the middle of nowhere. And I've seen it change over the years. And I raised all 3 of my children there, and I know the school district's great. I know, when this neighborhood went up and when certain things went up and when schools were built, and just I know it like the back of my hand.
So why did you decide to pick real estate as a profession?
I've always wanted to be a realtor ever since I was young, and I was a stay-at-home mom for 13 years. And after my kids got a little bit older, I was like, well, I could do something more in my life, and I decided to just go out there and get my real estate license, and I haven't turned back. I just love it.
So now that we're celebrating the first show of 2024, and it's hard to believe that we've had 505. But what would you say would be your projections for 2024? What do you see 2024 looking like, both for your business, for the real estate market in general, and Katie and Fulsher?
I think it's going to continue to be busy. It's a slower time of year right now, but I believe that come spring, it's going to get busy again. The inventory is still low. So I think it's going to be a great market for sellers, but also I think that, the buyers, it's going to be, okay for too. So
at some point, how do you, if a seller is concerned about selling their home because they locked in a low interest rate, during, 2019 or 2020, but they get to that point where that they're going to have to move for a life reason. What are some of the things that you counsel them on that?
Well, I always tell my clients, don't marry the mortgage, because marry the home. And there's always a possibility of refinancing down the road. If you love a home, don't have it stop you from buying the home if you love the home, because you can always refinance down the road.
So you're optimistic about 2024, and somebody decides, I'm ready to sell a home or I'm ready to buy a home in Katie or Fulsher. How do they get a hold of you?
Oh, they can reach me at my telephone number, 713-294-1686.
Okay, one more time.
713-294-1686.
Website or email address you want to share?
My email address is Hudson, HUTSON, SE as in Susan Ellen, @gmail.com.
We've been visiting with Susan Hudson with CB&A Realtors. Thank you so much for being with us, Susan.
Thank you.
In today's litigious society, it is imperative to have the proper insurance to offset the many risks facing your business, especially if you're a real estate broker. Your errors and omissions and cyber liability insurance can help limit the threat of these risks if you know what to look for. Not sure if your insurance addresses the risks facing your business? Contact Stewart Insurance to be confident your brokerage can withstand these risks. Stewart Insurance, 866-798-2827. StewartInsurance.com. That's StewartInsurance.com, or call 866-798-2827.
Our next guest is Adrian Miller with the Miller Group and New City Mortgage. Welcome to Real Estate Matters.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. While every transaction is unique when you're working with folks on loaning them money for a home, is there such a thing as a perfect loan?
If only, right? Every borrower's situation's unique. And that's partly why I enjoy what I do. Every client, every conversation, they're always a puzzle, right? Because we've all had different circumstances that have put ourselves in different situations, whether you have bad credit, whether you had a bankruptcy down the road, or maybe you're not there yet with your personal savings. Everybody has different challenges that put them in a unique situation to where I have to put my thinking hat on and find a solution to be able to help them either buy in the next 30 days or buy in 3 years. It's that old adage, everybody can be a homeowner, it's just a matter of time. And I try to have that approach with every client that comes forward to us, and really sit down and look at, their situation, what happened, why they got there, and put a plan in place to be able to attain that home ownership goal they have.
So what do you do if you've got a client that comes in and they want to buy a home, but for whatever reason they're not ready? What does that conversation sound like?
Well, I think go at it with compassion first, right? Understand that, they may have had a situation that they couldn't control, and don't make them feel bad about it, right? Make sure they recognize that, hey, things happen. We have an expletive for that, but we'll be PC here. But, things do happen, right? And, be compassionate about what got them there. Sit down and recognize the problem, implement solutions, whether it be credit repair, whether it be, hey, in this market with high rates and high sales prices, you just don't make enough money, right? So we've got to sit down and figure out how can we put you in a situation, whether it be a cosigner, whether it be going through credit repair, right? Just putting a plan in place. And then, of course, on my end, what I like to do is just check in with them from time to time just to see how it's going. Be that accountability partner with them. And that's something that I try to tell my realtor partners that I do to try to make sure that creates a pipeline deal right down the road. So But really, I think it starts with compassion, understanding where they're coming from, and then, of course, addressing, the maybe 3 or 4 steps that are obtainable. Sometimes I have clients come to me and say, hey, my credit score is 425, right? Well, that's going to take some time, right? But you don't want to approach it in a manner that's going to make them feel defeated, and they're not going to put forth the effort to take those steps necessary to obtain it. So looking at, biting it off in pieces. A lot of times for most of my clients, it's multiple things, right? Income, credit, assets. Maybe they don't have enough saved. Their credit's too low. They need to get a new job. Looking at putting a plan in place that takes, the opportunity of the time we have to bite it off in chunks, so it's not overwhelming to the client. And again, just being positive that, hey, this is obtainable. And what I like to do is typically share my personal story, right? Coming out of college with some bad mistakes that probably were made in the college days, and trying to figure out how to put myself right in terms of credit and income and assets, right? So I think whenever they can relate to that, they'll jump in with you on that journey to obtain the home ownership goal.
We're seeing a lot of kind of a change in how people work these days. I mean, beyond just working remotely, you're seeing more and more of a gig economy where instead of having one traditional job, you might have multiple. 3 or 4 multiple jobs, or you own multiple businesses. So how do you work with somebody that might have the income but not in a traditional manner?
Great question. So, Fannie and Freddie are the quasi-government entities that govern my world, right? We're going to look at their guidelines and see if we can qualify the borrower based on the traditional sense, right? Paycheck or W-2. It gets a little more complicated as you go down the line of a 1099 or a K-1 for more advanced self-employed borrowers. But for borrowers that come to me with non-traditional circumstances, right? We sit down and we look at the vast array of non-QM loan products, which non-QM stands for non-qualified mortgage. So whether it be a bank statement loan, a no-doc program, we can look at those things, but before we even look at them, I like to have a conversation with a client and just address the fact that, A, these solutions should just be temporary in nature, that we want to put a plan in place to be able to document traditional income eventually, right? Because a downside of those non-QM loan products, you typically have a higher down payment and a higher rate. So I just want to be transparent with clients up front on the negative aspects of those non-QM loans. And of course, always up front, just try to take an approach to qualify them from a traditional sense, because that's going to be the better rate and term option for the client ultimately.
So we're dealing with some really unique situations in the marketplace right now. So we've got some unrest in the world. We have higher, still have some high interest rates, or at least perceived high interest rates. We've got home ownership. We've got the availability of homes are still challenging. The prices of homes are still challenging. There's still some concerns about the economy. So how do you guide clients through such uncertain times?
It's never easy, but it's an election year, right? So I think we can all be optimistic going into an election year that hopefully our market does see some recovery. The last 60 days, we've seen rates aggressively decline, right? That's a lot of investors moving their money back into bonds. But I think for all intents and purposes, based on the economic data, I think the Fed has indicated they've achieved a soft landing, right? That the economy has recovered from a lot of this inflation we saw as a result of a pandemic that shut the global economy down for 2 years, right? This was not your grandfather's inflation per se, right? This was inflation that was caused for the fact that we shut the economy down over a global health crisis, right? So seeing this return to transportation for goods, services, goods and services are now back to, I think, what we would identify as a more normal level, has certainly helped, inflation come back down. There was a newsletter I sent out in August. I was having a lot of realtor partners reach out asking me, when are rates going to come down? And there was some data that was out at that time, and we talked about it off air here just a few minutes ago, where we were talking about the fact that credit defaults were rising, late summer months, right? Bankruptcy percentages were going up to almost pre-2008 numbers, right? And we all know what happened in '08. Put a lot of uncertainty in the market. And I put out a blurb that talked about that I felt like once student loan payments resumed in October, November, we would start seeing rates come down because that was more money that people were going to have to spend, less money going to the market. And again, in November, we saw rates start to decline. But I do think to a degree, we saw one of the strongest fourth quarters in terms of holiday spending, right? We're seeing but my biggest concern is we're seeing a lot of people doing these pay over time, right? Everybody knows when you go to buy something online, those $1,000 cowboy boots, you can do installment plans for those. But I think there's a danger to it, right? It's increasing monthly liabilities. So when you talk about all the uncertainty, in the world with what's going on in the Middle East, it does have an impact on the U.S. economy. Has an impact on what the Treasury does, an impact on what the consumer's doing. But I think overall, we're going to head into a stronger year just for the fact that big old election in November. I think inventory is going to continue to be an issue, right, for our realtor partners out there and our buyers to navigate. So we're going to see a lot of new construction still going on. So it doesn't help, small guys like me in the lender sector, right? But with the declining rates, we could see a refi opportunity for those folks that were buying in the 7s and 8s, right? So, hopefully that answers somewhat of your question there.
No, it does. We're visiting with Adrian Miller of the Miller Group and New City Mortgage. So you gave us a bit of a feel for kind of your crystal ball for 2024. Why is the Miller Group and New City Mortgage such a winning team?
I think the biggest thing is just the teamwork aspect, right? We really want to work with our clients to get to the closing table, number one, right? Because that's keys in their hand and a paycheck in my realtor partner's hands, right? But the biggest thing for me is just the access to the products and the ability to say yes more often than no, right? My team and I take a really personalized approach. Every client's going to talk to me in the beginning all the way through the end, every realtor partner. So what I like to do with clients is really sit down and take that personalized approach and put in place, their options, right? So they have an understanding. The other aspect is service quality, picking up on a Saturday or a Sunday morning, right? Find a lender that does that, that sends out a pre-qual letter on a Sunday morning, right? That's the world that I understand, I recognize my realtor partners live in, right? In terms of what support they need. And I recognize that I need to do that in order to ensure they get more deals, right? And clients get into homes. So, outside of 95 different partners I work with on the investment side, right? With banks and who we can gain access to from a standard mortgage to a non-QM mortgage option. I think that's huge for my clients and realtor partners.
So with all those product options and all, how is if I was coming to you and I needed a loan to buy a home, how do I get clarity on all those different options?
It's a 1, 2, 3 approach, right? The first step is really just have a phone call with me. We're going to outline an initial phone conversation that's going to look at talking about your payment budget, your cash close budget. If I get one of those numbers wrong, I'm in trouble. We're going to talk about where your credit is, where you've been on that journey, right? What are you doing for a living? What's that income look like? How much have you saved for a down payment? You often hear about people wanting to do down payment assistance. Yes, those programs are out there. They're not always realistic. And so you want to have that honest conversation with the client up front. And then, of course, the second step, just having them complete an application. It's the standard IRLA form or 1003, Uniform Residential Loan Application. They can do that online or we can do it over the phone. Once they do that, they'll get an automated email or a list from me of loan documents they need to provide. We'll take a look at the credit, income, and assets. I like looking at all that up front so I can ensure that whenever that borrower goes out to put an offer, they're putting it with a degree of confidence to ensure that that deal is not going to fall apart. There's no guarantee of that, but you want to do as much as you can up front to ensure a smooth transaction. But I think the biggest piece is just communicating with them and setting proper expectations about the process.
We're visiting with Adrian Miller of the Miller Group and New City Mortgage. If they'd like to reach out to you, one of our listeners, how they do that?
Yeah, by cell phone, 281-744-4231. And again, that number is 281-744-4231. Or they can shoot me an email at adrian@newcitymortgage.com. I'm also on social media, Instagram at the.Miller Group.
Well, Adrian, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, brother.
If you're a real estate professional, then listen closely. Cyber criminals are targeting our industry. They are impersonating real estate professionals, homebuyers, sellers, and title agents. Their goal is to gain access to your inboxes, computers, and clients so they can steal information and funds. Does your business insurance offset these risks? Not sure? Contact Stewart Insurance to determine if your business is properly insured. Visit stewartinsurance.com or call 866-798-2827. Visit stewartinsurance.com or call 866-798-2827.
We're now joined by Miranda Box with Realty One Group Experience. Miranda, welcome to Real Estate Matters.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
We're so glad to have you on the first show of 2024. Tell us a little bit about the uniqueness of Realty One Group Experience.
So by a coin term that we use, we're an unbrokerage. So we've got a setup that really is geared towards our agents, putting us in a position to where we can spend less towards our broker and more towards helping our clients.
So the setup of the company really allows you to be more client focused than maybe a traditional brokerage might let you as a realtor.
Exactly.
So I know that just from a little research that you've got something like 400 offices all over the U.S. and the world. How does having that big of a network support you locally?
So locally, that allows us to, we can pop into different areas, use someone else's office, whatever tends to work for our clients. We work all over the greater Houston area. I focus a little bit more on the Montgomery County area, but if I've got a client that's moving out of Montgomery County into another area, we've got offices all over that we can use. So
you can utilize that information, those aspects as a way to whatever's best for your client. Realty One allows you to kind of get there.
Right. We can just kind of roll with it the way that it works for our business rather than it just being about what Realty One wants us to do.
Let's talk a little bit about Montgomery County. So that's your area of focus. Let our listeners that maybe aren't from Houston know a little bit about where Montgomery County is in relationship to Houston, and what are the markets within Montgomery County that you focus on?
So I primarily focus out in Montgomery County. It's about an hour north of Houston. I've been an agent there for just a little over 10 years. My kids and I have been out there for quite some time. We're very ingrained in the area, more specifically Magnolia, just south of Montgomery City. And my kids are in volleyball, I'm in football there. And so we've really been able to kind of really jump into that community. And that's why I've been able to, kind of narrow it down from just being the greater Houston area to focusing more in Magnolia and Montgomery, because we have all of these relationships that we've built since being there, through sports and church and everything like that. So
what would be some of the benefits then if I was looking to have somebody help me buy a home or sell a home, and it was going to be in the Montgomery area? What are some of the benefits of working with somebody that truly does focus in that neighborhood versus somebody that does business all over the city?
So for me personally, since I am so ingrained in the area, I know about things that aren't on the market. When you have such low inventory, it's nice to have an agent that is so familiar and so ingrained into that area that you can say, I'm looking for this. It's not on the market. I've been all over the internet. I haven't seen it anywhere. I'm like, well, funny thing about that is I have a friend or a coworker that has been speaking about possibly wanting to sell and just hasn't pulled the trigger yet. Let me give them a call and see if that's something that works. Or going the route of, okay, this is what you're looking for. I know what neighborhood that is. Let's go drive around. There may not be a for sale sign in the yard yet, but we can knock on the door and see if that's something that they've been considering.
So having that knowledge of the neighborhood allows you a bit more creativity in how you might go about your business versus a realtor that just knows where Magnolia is, but that's about it.
Exactly.
So it sounds like to me that relationships are critical for you in the success of your business. how do you establish that relationship when you first begin working with somebody that's a buyer or seller?
So I'll back that up just a little bit and say that I also, you don't come across as many agents that work with renters as well. And so I have a hashtag that is Your Dream, My Mission. And that kind of came from working with a bunch of renters that, just assumed that home ownership wasn't something that was possible. And it's because they're just not educated on how much easier it is to become a homeowner than they thought. And so I've spent time, getting with them, talking through really what are the requirements of being able to buy. The same with my sellers, with the scare of, we have a 2% interest rate. Why would we want to pay 6%? And so just really educating them, sitting down, building that relationship and showing them that they're not in this alone and that I am here and I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for a really long time. And I've worked with great other lender partners that, have different programs where they're ready to jump in and do the same. And we all work cohesively as a team.
So let's talk a little bit more about, I like that thought about the renters. So it sounds like you, in a sense, you work with them and it's a journey. It's not just a transaction that you may help me find a place to rent with the ultimate goal of finding me a place to buy.
Exactly, to start building wealth through
So you would
real
work
estate.
with me from, let me find you an apartment or a house to rent to let me find you the perfect home when you're ready to buy.
Right. Or in several instances where they thought they could only rent. And I'm like, well, let's take a look at this. And let's just, do a soft pull on your credit, have my lender take a look at it. It may just be a little bit of a tweak here or there. And then instead of you renting, you're now building equity in a home.
So instead of just assuming that I can't,
Right.
I've assumed that I can't do something, you're going to walk me through it and determine, yes, you can, or no, you can't, or you can
Here's
if you
the
do.
plan.
Here's the plan. We'll do these 3 steps. And
Yes, exactly.
so that's the thing that goes back into your hashtag, Your Dream is My Mission.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the other things that you've done that are kind of following out of that, Your Dream is My Mission.
So I also have a program. It's called Miranda's Mission. And a little bit of the backstory for that is that I come from a family of law enforcement and veterans. And so I started Miranda's Mission as a closing cost incentive towards veterans, first responders, and teachers. I am the only agent that actually represents the Magnolia ISD and the teacher aspect and Magnolia ISD employees. But the Miranda's Mission is across the board for any veterans, any first responders, and any teachers in any school district. And so we just kind of work through it with, what are your closing costs going to be? How does this look for you? Where is that out on your budget? And then we go from there on determining how much of my commission I'm going to give to them towards their closing costs as just a thank you for what you've done for our community.
So it's a way of, as you said, saying thank you, but also paying it forward.
Right, exactly.
So you mentioned a little bit about your family and having a background of law enforcement and military, but if I'm also correct, you have a family background within the real estate world. How did that affect your decision to become a realtor?
So growing up, my dad was a builder. He did a lot of renovations. And so, I got to watch as these less than great homes became just beautiful. You restored them back to their, original glory. And it was just such an exciting thing to watch. And, even when we moved from the Aldine area to Huffman when I was in middle school, I got to sit down with my dad and go through all of these floor plans. And we would just do that all night. For hours, just flipping on the computer through floor plans. And I got to pick the floor plan for our house that he was going to build in Huffman. And so it was just, I fell in love with it very early. And then as I got older, went off, got my business degree. And then my mom and I started an investment company where we started flipping houses on golf courses. And so we did that for a little bit, which was fun, a little hectic, I will say. I'm not much of a project manager on that aspect. It's a lot to deal with, but, running trades and all of those things. But and so, we've had a lot of fun with it on that aspect as well. And then I've done a lot in investments. And so it's just I've had such a broad spectrum of things that I've been able to dabble in the last decade.
So because of the experience you've had, your dad, seeing him renovate homes, you've seen your dad build homes, you and your mother have done the flipping and the investing. What does all that experience do or is for somebody that's thinking about they needing a realtor to buy or sell a home? So how does that all play into why I should come and work with Miranda?
So for me, it's all about, since it came from such a young age of love that I have for it, when I'm working with a client, I love what I'm doing. I love being able to get them into a home or help them, pass that baton on to the next owner that's going to raise their children in their home, because sometimes it's such an emotional situation where, it's not just, oh, this house or that house. This is where I'm raising my children. This is where, I said goodbye to my husband. This is, these are generational things that you are helping them move on to the next chapter. And so for me, my clients hone in on that. They understand that. They continue to work with me throughout the rest of, any real estate transactions that they need in the future, because they see that it's not something that's just transactional for me. It's personal. It's personal to me because it's personal to them. And we build relationships, and then we become best friends, and I'm at their kids', birthday parties. It just trickles down from there, and it's no longer just business. This is life. We're doing it together.
Do you find that your clients comment that that's a rather unique approach, that not only do you recognize the financial aspect of buying or selling a home, but also the emotional aspect?
Right, exactly. And it helps them in such a stressful situation to feel calm. Everyone says, buying a home was the most stressful part of my marriage. And it is. It's very stressful. But if you're working with someone that has your back the same way that you have your own, you don't feel so stressed. And when, they call you freaking out at midnight because, oh, this happened or that happened, and you can calm them down instantly. I mean, we're therapists that are, for a better, lack of a better term, is, we wear a lot of hats as an agent. And so they're expecting us to do so much more. And that's what we should be doing. That's what we're here for.
So you've talked a little bit about, helping renters, find a place to live, and then hopefully eventually a place to buy. You've talked about working with buyers and sellers, and with a focus on teachers and first responders and veterans. Are there any other aspects of the real estate world that you work with from a client perspective?
So when I first got into real estate, I was working a lot in investments. So I handled some REIT funds out of the APAC region, investors that were looking to kind of move some of their money over here. So I built out a lot of portfolios. They were rental homes, single-family homes that were sold in about 60 to 65 homes per portfolio. And so I would handle that from acquisition down to renting it out to whomever is going to be paying that mortgage.
So looking at your crystal ball for 2024, what do you see? What are your expectations?
So 2024 is going to be pretty intense. I've got a couple of developments that I'm looking at taking over as far as being their only agent out there. Not as a builder rep, but as an individual agent. So, we've got that happening. And I see that, I feel like, at least in my area, we've been very stable. So I believe it's going to continue to go that way. And we should be, I think 2024 is going to look better than 2023.
So you've got one of our listeners is out there and they're saying, okay, Miranda, I'm feeling better about all this, and I'm looking to buy or sell my house, or I want to move to Montgomery County. How do they get a hold of you?
So they can reach me on my cell phone at any time, 832-707-6708. And again, that's 832-707-6708. They can find me on Facebook or Instagram as Miranda Box Realtor. And my email is mirandaboxrealtor@outlook.com.
We've been visiting with Miranda Box with the Realty One Group Experience. Thank you, Miranda.
Thank you so much.
In today's litigious society, it is imperative to have the proper insurance to offset the many risks facing your business, especially if you're a real estate broker. Your errors and omissions and cyber liability insurance can help limit the threat of these risks if you know what to look for. Not sure if your insurance addresses the risks facing your business? Contact Stewart Insurance to be confident your brokerage can withstand these risks. Stewart Insurance, 866-798-2827. StewartInsurance.com. That's StewartInsurance.com, or call 866-798-2827.
If you're a regular listener to Real Estate Matters, and I'm sure you are, you know that our regular host, Bill Napick, always talks about staying close to your Stewart Title Business Development Officer. And we're really fortunate today as we kick off the first show of 2024 to have three of our best in studio today to be our guest. Our first is Juliana Bareford. Juliana, welcome to Real Estate Matters.
Well, thank you, John. Happy to be here.
Glad to have you on the first show of 2024. So, which office in Houston are you working with these days?
Well, I am in the Kirby Grove office, which is inside the Loop. We're on the corner of Richmond and Kirby, and we overlook Levy Park.
It is potentially one of the best views in the city of Houston. Looking over Levy Park, you can see the medical center, you can see Rice University, all the way to Energy Stadium.
You can. And Levy Park is beautiful, especially if you're there at night. They have all these big globes in the trees that light up. It was interesting today, though. I got to watch the storm come in, so I do enjoy the view.
Yes, I like seeing, obviously I've been to Juliana's office several occasions teaching continuing education courses, and I love watching the kids and the moms out playing in the mornings. That's always fun.
Yes, and the dogs. I can hear the dogs barking in the dog park.
So tell us a little bit about the office. What's the makeup and areas of specialty for the Kirby Grove office?
Sure. So we have 3 escrow officers. We have Sanford Reel, and she just celebrated her 25th anniversary with Stewart Title. She does commercial, residential, and refinance. Then we have Lauren Reed. She's our branch manager, and she's been with Stewart a little over 10 years. She actually started out doing my job. And then has been, closer and a branch manager since. She does commercial, residential, and refi as well.
So let's talk a little bit about the office itself.
Okay. So we have 3 escrow officers. We've got Sanford Reel, and she just celebrated her 25th anniversary with Stewart Title. She's a very strong commercial closer, does quite a bit of residential, and then also refinances. Then we have Lauren Reed. She is our branch manager, and she's been with Stewart a little over 10 years. She started out as a marketing rep and then went into closing. She also does commercial, residential, and refi. And then lastly, we have Deanna Jurisic. She came to us about 3.5 years ago from another title company, and she does residential and refinances, and she also speaks Spanish if anyone has the need for that.
That's excellent. I know that the reputation of the office is truly fantastic. So as we move into 2024, is there anything that is coming up that our listeners need to be aware of?
Well, we've seen an uptick in contracts coming in January, and we had a good December to close out the year. But I just think the overall attitude of the realtor partners, our lender partners, is good. Everybody's expecting rates to go down, home sales to go back up, which is obviously what we want to hear.
Any events coming up that you'd like our listeners to know about?
Yeah, sure. I try and do, as far as realtors, I do at least 3 or 4 CE classes a month, if not more. I actually have you coming in next week to teach the 2 sides of water, which is actually one of my favorite classes, and that is 2 hours of CE. I have Legal 1 coming up. I have Legal 2. I have an inspector that's going to come in and teach about termites, which is a very interesting class. And then kind of just piecing some things together still for 2024.
So if somebody wants to get a hold of you to learn more about how they can either take advantage of the classes or the other activities you offer, or just to close at Stewart Title Kirby Grove, how do they go about doing that?
So my email address is Juliana, Juliana, .Bareford, and that's BAREFORD @stewart.com. And my cell phone is 832-296-7666.
That phone number one more time?
832-296-7666.
Juliana, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, John.
We're now joined by Hope Moy, who's the Business Development Officer in Magnolia and Conroe. Welcome to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title.
Hey, thanks for having me today.
And thank you for bringing Miranda. She was an excellent guest.
Yeah, she did amazing. And she was nervous. I don't even know why, but she did fabulous.
It sounded like that she had been doing this for years.
We practiced on the way to the studio this morning.
Well, you're a good coach. You're a good coach.
Why, thank you.
You've been here a few times.
Yes, I have.
So what's happening in Conroe and Magnolia?
Well, I've been doing a lot of business planning. I want to make sure that I'm doing everything possible that I can do leading up into 2024. So I've got lots of classes planned out. We have Ted Jones coming up in a couple of weeks, which is huge for our area. So just really trying to be a resource. That is my main goal this year, is just to provide to the agents and help them grow.
For those that are maybe new listeners to the show or new to the industry, tell them a little bit about Dr. Ted C. Jones and what that event is you've got coming up.
So, Dr. Ted Jones he brings an economic outlook to our area, as he does to all of our Stewart offices. But he gives us a good insight on what he predicts as far as how the year looks. And so it's very well known. I think this is our 14th annual, if I'm not mistaken. So this is something that we do every year. It's a huge, huge event, and our realtors really, really look forward to it.
Yeah, as a chief economist, sometimes people think, economist is going to be boring.
No.
Ted's a lot of things, but boring is not one of them.
You're absolutely correct. There's lots of humor, lots of stats, lots of things that a lot of our realtors really look forward to each year.
Well, one of the things that I always enjoyed about what he does is not only does he talk about the economy from a global and a national perspective, but he comes in and he's very specific. So he will talk about, in your event, he will talk about Montgomery County. He'll talk about Magnolia. He'll talk about Conroe. So those that attend really will get a feel for expectations for the local market as well.
Absolutely.
When is this taking place for Montgomery County?
Our outlook is on January 25th. We're actually doing a lunch event this time when we normally do breakfast. So we're changing it up just a little bit, which we're super excited about. And it's going to be at the Regency Hyatt in Conroe in Grand Central Park.
Oh, nice.
I know. We're excited.
Nice.
New spot,
yeah. And that area is just...
It's booming.
It really is crazy.
Lots of new commercial right there, new restaurants, lots of new homes in that area. So it's a great spot for realtors to actually come and see the area alongside here in the Outlook.
So if somebody had an interest in attending Dr. Jones's event, or they just decided, hey, I want to come and work with Hope, how do they go about doing that?
They can reach me on my cell phone. It's 346-224-1908. Again, my cell is 346-224-1908.
And if they wanted to shoot you an email?
It's Hope, Hope, Moye, Moye, because John can't say it right, at Stewart.com.
Well, thank you, Hope Moye, with the Stewart Title office in Montgomery, Conroe. Thank you so much for being here, and thanks for bringing Miranda.
Awesome. Thank you. Good to see you.
Last but certainly not least, our next guest is Stacy Tierheimer. Stacy is a new business development officer for the Houston Stewart Title office. And Stacy, tell our listeners where you're working out of.
I am over the Katy and Fulshire offices.
So you brought Susan with you today.
I did. She was amazing.
She was such a lovely guest and really provided some great knowledge and background about Katy and Fulshire. So what was it about Stewart Title that said, Stacy, I'm going to make a move there? You and I have known each other from a previous life.
Yes,
yes. But what was it about Stewart that said, hey, this is where I want to be and this is the right time?
I've actually been within the industry, real estate industry, for over 7 years now. So when I first started, I encountered Stewart Title, and I loved the people. They're a nationwide company. It's just, it was a no-brainer when somebody approached me. So, yes.
So how long have you been with us now?
Since November 20th.
Oh, fantastic. So you're coming up on 4 months.
Yes, a couple of months,
That's fantastic. So tell us a little bit about the Katy and Fulshire offices, and if somebody has an interest in closing there, what are some of the benefits?
We've got some incredible people that have been with both of our offices for many years now. We also have a bilingual person, and we have a mobile closer. We can help you out however possible. We've got classes that we offer the real estate agents, CE, and just business development classes, a lot of opportunities to help them grow.
So if I'm needing to close, I can close at either one of your offices if I'm working if we're working with you in that Katy Fulshire area. So if it's more convenient for me to close in Fulshire or more convenient for me to close in Katy, I can do that?
Yes, we'll take care of you.
That's fantastic.
Reach out to me and I'll be able to help you.
So speaking of that, if I did want to reach out to you, how would I go about that?
You can contact me on my cell phone, which is 832-392-2053. And that's 832-392-2053. I also have a hashtag, which
Okay.
is Start with Stacy at Stewart.
I like that. Start with Stacy at Stewart.
Thank you.
So, do we have any events coming up that you want to talk about or promote, or any classes that you're ready to reveal for the year?
Yes, yeah, I've got a number of classes lined up for this year already, so I'm super excited about that. We're also doing the Ted Jones event. It's going to be at the farmhouse in Harvest Green area,
Okay.
and that's going to be on Tuesday, January 23rd, and that's going to be in the morning.
So, Tuesday, January 23rd in the morning, Dr. Ted C. Jones, he's going to tell us everything that's going to happen in 2024 with a special focus on Katy and Fulshear. So again, if somebody has an interest in closing in your office or would like to, because I know those tickets go quick.
Yes.
So if they'd like to reserve a space for that event, how do they go about reaching you, Stacy?
They can reach out to me either by my phone number or they can reach out to me by my email. We also have got a link I can send them to register and a QR code also.
And that number again is?
It is 832-392-2053, and my email is stacie.thierheimer@stewart.com.
We've been visiting with Stacy Tiermeyer, the new Business Development Officer in Katy and Fulshear. Stacy, so glad to have you part of the team and so glad to have you here today.
I'm so excited to be here with the company. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you again for listening to Real Estate Matters, brought to you by Stewart Title. It was so exciting to be able to host today, show number 505, the first show of 2024. On behalf of our regular host, Bill Napick, I want to be able to thank our guests, Susan Hudson, Adrian Miller, Miranda Box, Juliana Bareford, Hope Moy, and Stacy Tiermeyer. We hope that you come back and listen to Stewart Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title every week. We air at 5 o'clock on Sundays, KPRC 950 AM. You can also hear us on stewart.com/radio, listen to previous shows, and follow us on the iHeartMedia app. So again, in pinch hitting for Bill Napick, my name is John Bramblett with Stewart Insurance, and thank you for listening.
In today's litigious society, it is imperative to have the proper insurance to offset the many risks facing your business, especially if you're a real estate broker. Your errors and omissions and cyber liability insurance can help limit the threat of these risks if you know what to look for. Not sure if your insurance addresses the risks facing your business? Contact Stewart Insurance to be confident your brokerage can withstand these risks. Stewart Insurance, 866-798-2827. StewartInsurance.com. That's StewartInsurance.com or call 866-798-2827. If you're a real estate professional, then listen closely. Cyber criminals are targeting our industry. They are impersonating real estate professionals, homebuyers, sellers, and title agents. Their goal is to gain access to your inboxes, computers, and clients so they can steal information and funds. Does your business insurance offset these risks? Not sure? Contact Stewart Insurance to determine if your business is properly insured. Visit StewartInsurance.com or call 866-798-2827. Visit StewartInsurance.com or call 866-798-2827.